Welcome to The Paperfold. I am your host, Sarah, the paper nerd, and I'm so glad to be back nerding out with you on my favorite topic, stationery. Before I get to my dynamite guest today, I need to call out my very special sponsor, Avanti Press. Based in Detroit and New York, the company produces the Avanti, A-Press, and America card brands, plus distributes Dominique Sherman's Nikki D lifestyle brand in North America. They are always up to something unexpected and new, so Avanti couldn't be more perfect to host the GCA's Greeting Card Conference in Detroit, October 6th through 8th. I, for one, cannot wait, so be sure to grab your rooms now before they're all gone. The GCA's special rate at the iconic Westin Book Cadillac Hotel is now available, so visit greeting.org/2025-greeting-card-conference to book your spot for this can't-miss opportunity to connect with paper people from around the country. Now, on to my incredible guest, Sally Diguette. Like me, Sally wears a few different hats. The most predominant one is specialty retail buyer at Anthropologie. While Anthropologie is mostly known for its clothes, it also fashions the home and work and desk, which is where Sally comes in. She decides not only which brands receive a coveted purchase order, but where and how that brand will be sold within Anthropologie. As someone who walks markets thinking about overall trends and how and where I am going to cover a maker, I am so in awe of all the decisions and split-second decisions buyers make while visiting markets. Meanwhile, Sally is also an independent consultant to emerging and growth-minded brands, so she really goes behind the curtain as well. I have to shout out the brilliant Nicole of 2021 Co. for introducing me to Sally over email last November. Then, during Atlanta Market this past January, Sally and I had a magnificent conversation in my unofficial office, the Starbucks at the Westin, and I just knew I had to have her here. Our chat was such that I'm sharing it over 2 episodes. Lucky you, the first half follows right after this. Hey nerds, I cannot be the only one wondering what that fantastic and fantastical LA-based brand Girl with Knife has been up to lately. After all, this California house of design has trailblazed its way through paper goods, home decor, and yes, even house design since the incredible creative powerhouse Alicia Castaldi founded it in 2018. Every last creation humbly springs from a nimble slice of Alicia's knife, aka her trusty X-Acto blade, with messaging and imagery that is by turns sweet and sassy, but always incredibly smart. You want this girl by your proverbial side. It's no surprise then that Girl with Knife has assembled a huge stack of titles and awards in its brief existence. Among them, the incredibly prestigious Artist of the Year Louis Award in 2022, as well as the equally competitive but far edgier Best Use of Profanity, noted at Noted Award, and not just once, but 2 times over. Clearly, I am not the only one waiting raptly to see what drops next. New for 2025, look out for a dozen new card designs, both everyday and seasonal, as well as some gorgeous wraps in which to stylishly clad your gifts. Alicia tells me it is a tease to whet your appetite for a much larger spring release coming. I, for one, cannot wait. Meanwhile, since officially opening its doors for business, Knife House Palm Springs has been booked rather solid with weddings and photo shoots. And after 2 years of painstaking work, Knife House Bel Air is finally complete. These houses transmit Alicia's vision into exquisite 3-dimensional living spaces, but for those of us who cannot experience them in California, Girl with Knife dispenses that glamour in paper and gift form. Thus, whether it is a hilarious greeting card for that bestie you have been missing, like the one reading, "You're the only one I answer the phone for," against an image of an old-fashioned phone replete with curly cord, or the eternally fierce candle, an intoxicating essence of midnight rose to remind you of your true nature in olfactory form, this is officially your brand new BFF in paper goods and home decor. So, if you're a paper or design nerd out in the wild looking to express your best self as you lift up those you adore, head on over to girlwithknife.com and immerse yourself. And if you are in the trade, shop this top shop brand sensation exclusively on Fair 24/7 and be on the lookout for winter market specials. I guarantee your stationery, as well as your living and workspaces, will slay. Sally, welcome to the Paper Fold.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. It was such a pleasure to get acquainted in real life in Atlanta, and I'm just in awe of your energy and all you do to promote small makers and stationery. Clearly, I have a lot of questions for you today, but I'd like to start with Anthropologie, which is a dream destination for makers and specifically stationery and sort of boutique gift makers. So how do you define the Anthropologie magic?
Wow, that's a great question. I think it's really a culmination of the excitement and the newness and sort of the uniqueness of what Anthro and all the different pieces, whether it's like in apparel land or in home or in gift, there's all these different facets also of product. When they
Lifestyle.
all come together, it really makes this amazing lifestyle shop, to your point. But I think that having all of those different facets and features and opportunities for people to discover while they are in an Anthropologie or even shopping on the website is what really makes the magic and sets it apart in terms of not feeling too one note when you kind of walk into a sea of stores.
Yeah, Anthropologie is so special. I feel like even if I'm out of town and I'm in a mall and I go in that Anthropologie, it will be different from my local Anthropologie, which is so important because, I mean, I don't want to badmouth any chains.
I know, me too. I'm like, delicately.
I mean, like my daughter, there are certain chains that my daughter always likes to go to. And it's like the one in Florida is exactly like the one in Cleveland, which is exactly like the one everywhere else. So, it's amazing that you've been able to make every store not feel like a carbon copy of the other stores. And there's that discovery and magic and just richness and that element of you never know what you're going to find.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree. And I think obviously there's many teams that go into making that magic happen, but like from the visual teams that do the amazing window displays, and those are all similar, each season, but each store is totally unique and has their own team creating those behind the scenes. And then in addition to like different product being filtered into different locations, like they are very unique to each themselves. And I think the brand also does a really good job, even with the type of location that the store ends up in. And all the buildings are all different. And like, there's just so many different facets to it, but all coming together. Yeah. It's each one you go into, you're like, oh, this is different than the last one I saw.
Totally. Like, is it a freestanding store, in a more of like a traditional downtown, or is it in a more of like a modern walking mall, just depending on where it is that element is actually considered, which I feel like a lot of places don't. I mean, they pretty much just plop down wherever they have that real estate. Hey nerds, many of you are already familiar with Paper Baristas and its incredible founder, Christy Asper. Christy was my guest on episode 56 of The Paper Fold and is also a longtime friend and the founding sponsor of our Nerd Notes segment. Today, I'm thrilled to share a little more of what's new in 2025 for this all-American house of paper that has been brewing paper goods to do good since 2019. This eco-conscious fair trade brand loves upcycling what would otherwise go in the trash to enjoy a gorgeous new life and a gorgeous new utility to keep you on top of your game. When you choose to support this family-owned brand, you're supporting a business that puts people and the planet before profit. There's no plastic packaging, and every product blends recycled and upcycled elements. The handmade wood-free paper is recycled and biodegradable, made from cotton rag waste from the garment industry that would otherwise go in a landfill. The paper itself is created using pollution-free methods such as sheets that are sun-dried, conserving energy usage, and is chemical-free, protecting our waterways. Whether the product in question is one of its signature decal-edge letterpress cards or a recycled lunch bag, 10% of all Paper Baristas profits are donated to the International Justice Mission to fight human trafficking. That means that long after your purchase, it assists in someone's fresh start. While it is easy to generate a product that looks good, it is a huge challenge to create items that truly do good as well. Thus, it is no exaggeration to say that every Paper Barista's offering writing is a labor of love to bring into the world. While its marvelous caffeinated notepad is its newest release, take a few minutes and really experience their range. Its vibrant, heartfelt greeting cards are available folded or flat. There are endless undated planners, notebooks, and journals. They recently introduced plantable seed paper gift tags and ornaments, as well as stickers. And don't get me started on their home goods. Check out their floating frames, recycled canvas lunch bags and pencil bags, recycled microfiber tea towels, and my personal favorite, Swedish dishcloths. Every time you use one, that's one less used paper towel. Every last creation is a joy to use every time. So, if you are a paper nerd in the wild, start your caffeinated stationery journey at paperbaristas.com. And whether you are in the trade or in the wild, head on over to the very first Chicago Stationery Fest happening March 22nd and 23rd. This premier weekend festival is the talk of the stationery community, and there Christy will not only be conducting letterpress demos, but teaching a calligraphy class as well. I, for one, will not be missing out. So, whether you connect with Paper Baristas via a screen or real life, be sure to tell Christy that Sarah sent you. So, here's the $1 million question. I met you in Atlanta. I'm so glad you're ready for it. So, I met you in Atlanta. You had a million things to do. I met you in my unofficial office, which is the Starbucks in the Westin. Thank you. And,
of course.
But you have to walk a market. You see a million things. It's very overstimulating. There's a million different brands, a million different makers, a million different looks. So what grabs your eye out of the gate when you are walking a showroom in Atlanta?
Overstimulating, I think, is a great way to put it. And I think from both sides, obviously I'm on the buying side, but I also feel like it must be quite overstimulating and overwhelming on the brand side as well. And I think that's good for everyone to keep in mind when you're like getting into the show scene. Just know everyone there is overwhelmed. Everyone's tired. Everyone has seen a bajillion things and talked to a bajillion people at any point in the day.
Totally. I feel like there's a lot of and it's definitely gotten more intense in the past couple of years. A lot of what is this person doing? What are they doing? Where are they?
Yeah.
Where are they? Are they unfair? Are they here? Who did they sign with? Oh, they got that rep, that type of thing.
Yes, totally. But I think the main thing that sets any booth or even sort of area of a showroom out to me is if there's a brand that has a very clear vision and that has then come into play in how their product is developed, how their booth is set up, but you can tell who they are and you can tell what you're getting into before you even have to really start diving in and sifting through and looking at different cards or whatever it is. But I think those are the ones that always grab my attention the most. And sometimes it can be, someone that grabs my attention that's not even something that I'm technically looking for because my buying is very directed in a certain place. But even walking shows and seeing different types of brands, I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. But immediately when I glance over, I can tell who they are, what they're going for, what are they trying to sell me. And it's just very clear. There's no beating around the bush of is this a brand for X, Y, and Z?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting you say that because, obviously I cover stationery and gifts, but I see a lot and I'm inspired. When I walk in Atlanta or in New York, I'm inspired by categories I don't cover.
It's so fun. Yeah.
And it's so interesting to see a trend, appear in home and trickle into stationery and so on. And so, it's great to just be out there and get to see everything. You do get so overstimulated and it takes a while for the dust to settle.
It does.
And I realized too, I did not ask, what are, because clearly you have specific buying areas at Anthropologie. What is your wheelhouse?
Yeah. So mine is also sort of an interesting wheelhouse at Anthro because I am part of a trend kind of catch-all in a way. So I do buy all the stationery paper, but I also buy games, I buy pets, I buy a little bit of kids, a little bit
That's
of tech.
fun.
So I'm very like lifestyle within the larger lifestyle. And a lot of that is driven out of the fact that my category has a lot of market in the business. And so a lot of different kind of subcategories that are very market-based fall under my larger category.
Right.
And that's how it kind of came to be, but it is sort of a catch-all little segment.
Right. And you had mentioned too that sometimes you might be able to like see a small brand and say, well, I can just put it on. It's not necessarily going to go in your local Anthropologie, but it will be on our website and I can kind of try it out. See how our customers respond. And that tells me a lot about not just this line, but what our customers are looking for and what's going on. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. I think there's always everyone's ultimate goal is to get in as many stores as possible. I have a lot of conversations all the time about that. And it's like, but how do I get in your store? And I'm like, well, that is an option. That's an option. But there's also a whole other half of the business. And depending on what part of the business, it's maybe even more than half. And I think a lot of people kind of have that misconception, which I understand is very easy to have, because in our minds, you're like, well, if there's hundreds of locations, that has to be more sales than one, direct to consumer channel. But there's a lot of product that we filter onto the site that may never see the store. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. And it is sometimes used for like tests and learns.
Sure.
But then other times used for just like, this is the best channel for this too.
Right.
But it offers a lot of flexibility in terms of like finding newness and trying it out and seeing how the response does come from customers. And then if it is something that's like, oh, we should put this in the stores, sometimes happens too.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I can imagine that the online Anthropologie customer is slightly different than the one in the store. And it's just a different aspect of your business. There's a lot of overlap, but there's also some, distinctions there. I mean, there are a lot of Anthropologie stores, but there's not one close to every home in America.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So that makes
sure.
That makes a lot of sense. We'll be right back after this.
Is the pressure of your wedding day being perfect from sunrise to sunset weighing on your mind? Planning a wedding is stressful. But guess what? We are here to help. On the Bridezilla podcast, we celebrate love and help you plan your wedding day. We're all about keeping it real and having fun every step of the way. So whether you're just starting to plan or counting down the days, we're here to help you stay cool, calm, and collected. We have expert tips and amazing guests like wedding dress designer Haley Page. Let's get this party started and embrace your inner Bridezilla. Listen to Bridezilla wherever you get podcasts or visit us at thebridezilla.com.
And we're back. That being said, can you share a few of your more recent finds from Atlanta? And I'm curious, what made you pick them? What sets them apart? What made them jump out at you?
Yeah, totally. So I connected with a pet brand actually at the Atlanta show, Hot Diggity.
Hot Diggity. That's a good name.
Yes, they make a wide variety of pet toys that are very geared and like created by, inspired by human brands and things that humans love. And they're adorable. And some of them that I'm talking to the brand about now, about carrying, are ones that are like fashioned after drinks that we all drink, like a sparkling water or one of the Olipop, sodas that everyone's like got in their fridge right now. And they have that for pets as well. And then they had really cute, like little fashion, like instead of a Prada bag, it's a Pada bag for your dog. So very like kind of kitschy, cute. And that's what really stood out to me. I was like, these are hilarious.
I'm on their site.
And, like,
they're great.
Yeah. Like
they're
so
great.
funny.
And very upscale and smart.
Yeah.
With a lot of like, they're stitched.
Very well designed. Yes. So I was really happy to see that one in person. And then I met a paper brand called Drawn Goods who...
she's amazing.
Yeah. I haven't like reconnected totally with her yet, but she's on my list. I have some ideas kind of brewing for some future stuff. But she had really really nice illustrations, really good quality, but also like really great kind of punny phrases on the cards. And they definitely stood out to me as like, these would stand out to people if they were, walking in a store, seeing a sea of different card choices and like, go for that one. So she was another great one.
Totally. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
Becca. That's Becca Gore. I
Yes.
should just be like,
yeah,
she has a name and it's Becca Gore. And she's like a brilliant young thing.
Yeah, she was amazing.
Her illustrated goods are great. I think she was in my Atlanta report as well. And it's very like, I feel like it's deceptively very like simple product, but like it's so smart and well illustrated. Like I'm on her site and it's a bagel card with a very, very well drawn everything bagel. And it says, you are my everything. And it's very simple, but it's so poignant and smart and polished. So I'm not surprised that you picked.
Yes. She was great. So yeah, those were two specific ones. But I mean, as you know, there's so much there that I definitely have tons of like snaps in my phone. And as you said earlier, like it takes a while to come back down from all the trade show crazy. So I'll be spending the next few months sifting back through everything. And I kind of always like am rediscovering after I've gone to a trade show. Yeah. And then, and when I start working on a next season, I'll be like, I have to go back and like look at everything I saw because I can't even remember it at this point. But those two really like stood out to me as great,
interesting.
Like, future. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting too with trade shows too. Like I feel like I leave a New York or an Atlanta and I just have like all this, like just a big image blur in my mind. And the more time that elapses, like I'll be like, oh yeah, like I'll keep thinking about one range or one thing I saw. You just get so overstimulated.
Yeah.
It's very hard. And I'm sure for you too, like you might see a range and sort of just put it in the back of your head, like this is perfect for spring, or like we're doing a big Christmas push next year. I'll just sort of put this in my hat.
Yeah.
For now. So I'm also curious, like to your mind, what are common mistakes that you see stationery and gift makers making where their brand is missing the mark for whatever reason?
Yeah, I think some of the main ones are the standout and the difference of there are obviously so many paper brands these days, and especially like I think in greeting card segment of paper even, I know it can be very hard to like stand out and make a card that is different than what someone else is making because there are so many and it's saturated. But I think finding your like unique, whether it's the illustration or the way that you're phrasing it or even the quality or the like print that you're doing and adding special kind of like embellished features, whatever it is, there's lots of different avenues to get there, but just making sure that like you really do feel unique in this kind of sea of other paper people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I know is like really hard.
It's a lot. I feel bad for a small greeting card maker who just opens a fair shop and like sits back to wait for the orders to come in. Like it is very easy to get lost.
Yeah.
On that platform. And I think the stores and the sales reps themselves are a little overwhelmed at keeping everybody figuring out like, who everybody is. And also, I'm sure for you, it's also, there's a bit of like, is this a fly by night operation or is this person like really going to be in it? Like if I place an order and it sells through, are they going to still be in business?
Yeah.
To refill it.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of consideration. So,
yes.
To your mind, and I mean, like, that's a huge process to be like, okay, I need to be authentic to myself, but what is myself?
Yeah.
That's the subject of a whole different podcast. My next question was, what should they be focusing on? Rather than that, I want to ask you for your thoughts on something that I talk to my clients about a lot. And I know you're a consultant. You probably talk to your clients about it a lot. Tell me what you look at on the back of a card and an envelope. Like I'm always talking about that really important real estate, actually in both places. So what are your thoughts on the back of a card? Like if it's just like, what do you want to see?
I will say I like it to still be simple.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I have like my anthro buyer hat on. I don't want it to feel like it's overwhelming the front of the card or the interior, because those are the more important parts to me for my customer.
Okay.
But I want to know like where it's coming from. I want to know who the brand is. And if there's like a special call out feature, are you like made in USA, or are you woman owned, or, you know, it could be any of those kind of like buzzword features about yourself that make you stand out. And I also think it's really important in real estate to like, how do people find you if they buy a random card in a store and they can't remember like who you are? Can they find your website? Can they find a handle? You know, like how do they come back to you if they never go to that same store again? And then the envelope, I think, is such a nice place to have additional features that like incorporate more quality into your card.
Yes.
And again, it can be so many different things, but like, is it a different paper material hand feel? Is it a little bit of a thicker envelope versus a thinner envelope? Does it have any printing on the interior of the envelope? Like, is there anything pre-printed kind of even on the front of the envelope that ties back to the card? Like, what little feature can you add that just makes it that much more special? Because I do see a lot of just blank envelopes all the time.
Oh my gosh. That's the first thing I'll tell a line when they come to me. It's like, if you're not, at least consider a craft envelope. Like, and for me, I think a lot of it is, especially if the card's being mailed, like it's got to look good when when it shows up with all that junk mail.
Yeah.
Like you've got to
oh, that's something I want to open. Yeah.
Right. Like it's got to differentiate itself out of the gate, because that's part of the experience. I love how you're just like, what can be extra? I feel like the Anthropologie brand is like, there's a lot of like discovering, oh, I didn't know that this was lined. I didn't know it had a little bow here. I didn't know. So it makes sense that you're always looking for that little something extra. A lot of card makers have just continued the visuals on the back or made it like a little joke in some way. I really enjoy that trend as well. Like anything but leaving it just totally blank and putting a copyright on there. Like, please.
Yeah. It's valuable real estate. Use it in some way.
It's so valuable. So when we chatted in Atlanta, we also talked a little bit about the power of in-person and events. These have a real power, especially now as people see community, especially like in a non-big box format. And you guys have a really nice way of not feeling like a big box when you walk in. So you mentioned that it can be harder to generate these in a large entity such as Anthropologie. But what kinds of events have you found success with? What kinds of events do you think makers can start thinking about generating with their stockists? And what should independent stores be thinking about to kind of build this community and have these experiences, create these experiences for their clientele?
Yeah, definitely. Yes. I think it's always difficult when a store location is part of a bigger entity, because there are so many things happening behind the scenes and there's such a schedule that's like built out by that internal team. And they obviously are, filtering through so many different options. And as I kind of alluded to earlier, like there's the whole apparel side of a brand like Anthropologie that it's like, we're sharing the events with a lot of things. So it can be really tricky.
Yes.
I think the most successful events that have come to fruition in my area within Anthropologie have been ones that are more activation based. There was one in the last holiday season that I was really happy to see actually came to life with a brand called Cardi Gang.
Okay.
Which does like DIY kits, and they're like knit kits, crocheting kits. And they did an in-person event and we're like doing some knitting with the kits in person. And I think that like when people can come and there's something for them to do rather than just like, I'm going to show up here and like maybe see someone or like
drink some lemonade and stand around.
Yeah.
Make and takes
provide an extra layer.
Yeah, make and takes are so fun.
Yeah.
And I think I even mentioned to you, I mean, my daughter's in college now, but I remember taking her to some Mother's Day make and take at our local Anthropologie when she was 7 or 8. And it's funny, she still talks about it. It's really...
Yeah, it's cute. Yeah, I mean, they're so much more memorable. And I also think back to like my pre-anthro days when I worked for a startup retailer in Atlanta that was a one-off, but obviously we had a lot more flexibility because we were not a big entity. And the store was very maker-based. So I also had so many people to pull from that could make these amazing like activations and events. And they were always the biggest hit. We would sometimes kind of try a different sort of event that's more of like a signing or kind of like a meet and greet or something. But like people loved getting, I always remember one that was like a calligraphy, like gift tag at the holiday season. And you could like customize your gift tag and then put it on your gift and walk out the door. And people were like, this is amazing. Like now I don't have to figure out how to like wrap this in some extravagant way. So I think my advice would be to try to think of how your product formats could be used in some type of interactive way, whether it's sort of like a wrapped in finished product or if it's just within the product makeup as well. And like, is there a way that you could teach people how you make your products or something that they could make out of your product to get them involved? And to your point, I think people just like, when you're hands-on, you're like, you're in it, you're remembering, they're probably going to remember your brand so much better too. And like who you are. And then be like, oh yeah, I did an event with this brand at the store. Like, let me stay in touch with that brand also.
Right.
So yeah,
Activity. And I think that's so huge because it's just not on a screen. Like it's more important now than it was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it almost like pre-COVID, I would say it almost came off like a gimmick. Like, oh, you just want to get me in your store to make this place card. And then you're going to try to sell me, this, that, and the other thing. Whereas now it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not doom scrolling.
Yeah.
I'm like making something. I'm out and about. I'm in public. I'm interacting with humanity.
Like,
it's very
completely.
Thank you so much again, Sally, for dropping in the paper fold. I love how you are taking us behind the magnificent Anthropologie curtain, and I'm so glad our visit continues next month. Finally, thank you for listening. Of course, feel free to give me a 5-star rating and review if you are so inclined. It will help new nerds find us. The Paperfold is proud to be a member of the Evergreen Podcast Network. To learn more about this dynamic community, please visit evergreenpodcasts.com. Thank you so much, nerds, and please stay safe out there.